Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with the truth that nobody escapes. Life is hard, not sometimes, not just for the unlucky, but for all of us in different ways at different times with different lessons. Now, that might sound discouraging, but I'm here to tell you it's not bad news. It's the beginning of growth. Because once you accept that life is hard, you stop wishing it were easy and you start learning how to get stronger. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make in life is changing their attitude toward difficulty. Most people, when faced with challenges, instinctively hope for the situation to change. They hope the boss becomes easier to deal with, the economy improves, the traffic clears up, the world becomes fairer, but life doesn't bend to convenience. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. The weight doesn't care who you are. It just weighs what it weighs. And so the wise stop hoping for life to get easier. They hope and work to become better. When you stop wishing for easy, you start accepting the truth. Life rewards those who improve, not those who complain. Challenges are not walls meant to block you, but gates meant to grow you. They don't shrink when you moan. They only yield when you evolve. Better skills, better habits, better thinking. That's how the challenge begins to feel lighter, not because the load changed, but because you did. Think of it like this. When a person lifts weights at the gym, they don't ask for the weights to get lighter. They get stronger. If they return a few weeks later and lift the same weight with ease, it's not because the weight lost mass. It's because their muscles gained strength. Life works the same way. Whether you're facing heartbreak, financial strain, career pressure, or internal doubt, the way through is not asking for the world to adjust. It's adjusting yourself. There's a quiet strength in deciding that nothing around you has to change for you to begin improving. You take the power back. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming a student of life. And when you approach every hardship with the mindset of, what is this here to teach me, instead of why is this happening to me, you unlock progress. Here's a simple but powerful example. There was once a young salesman, let's call him Daniel, who struggled every single day to meet his quota. He watched others in his office close deals with ease, while he barely scraped by. He'd go home frustrated, defeated, and often said, I wish this job were easier. I wish customers weren't so difficult. One day, a senior colleague pulled him aside and said, you're wishing for the wrong thing. Don't wish the job was easier. Wish you were better at the job. If you master the skill, the job won't change, but your results will. So Daniel took that advice to heart. Instead of grumbling about the customers, he started listening to them more. He read books on sales psychology. He practiced his pitch. He asked for feedback. He treated every failed sale as a lesson, not a loss. Within 6 months, Daniel was outperforming his peers. What changed? Not the job, not the customers. He changed. He stopped blaming the difficulty and started building the capability. This principle applies to everything: relationships, finances, leadership, health. The difficulty is often fixed, but your ability to rise to it is not. And when you shift your focus from altering the world to improving yourself, the results speak for themselves. In the end, this mindset creates freedom, because if you wait for life to get easier, you'll wait forever. But if you get better, if you learn, adapt, grow, then nothing can hold you back for long. Strength isn't in the absence of struggle, it's in your response to it. Life was never meant to be easy, but you were always meant to rise. So stop hoping the mountain gets smaller. Start becoming the kind of person who can climb it. Discipline is one of the most undervalued tools in life, yet it is the bridge between dreaming and doing, between talking and achieving. Everyone has goals, some big, some small, but the difference between those who succeed and those who fall short rarely lies in talent or intelligence. It lies in consistency. Discipline is what turns a scattered set of intentions into a meaningful reality. It's what keeps you showing up when the mood fades. Motivation is fleeting, but discipline is reliable. It's not about feeling like doing the work, it's about doing it anyway. People often chase the feeling of inspiration, waiting for the perfect moment to start. But the truth is that perfect moment rarely comes. Life is full of distractions, doubts, and discomforts. Discipline steps in when comfort steps out. It doesn't ask for permission or wait for perfect conditions. It says, I'll show up, no matter what. That's the mindset that builds momentum. That's how great work is done, not in short bursts of brilliance, but in steady, repeated efforts. What discipline offers is structure. It creates boundaries in a world full of noise. You wake up early not because it's easy, but because it sets the tone for your day. You go to the gym, not because you love every rep, but because you've made a promise to your future self. You save money not because it's fun, but because financial freedom matters more than momentary pleasure. Discipline doesn't shrink your freedom, it expands it, because the more you master yourself, the more you shape your life instead of letting life shape you. It also builds trust with yourself. When you say you'll do something and follow through, even when no one's watching, you begin to believe in your own word. That belief becomes confidence. That confidence turns into progress. Discipline isn't about perfection. You will slip, you will fall, but discipline gets you back on track. It says, start again. That's what separates the committed from the casual. Here's a powerful example. There was a woman named Maria, a talented pianist. She had the dream of becoming a concert performer, but she struggled with procrastination. She practiced sporadically, some weeks intensely, other times not at all. When competitions came, her results were inconsistent. One day, a mentor told her, "You're trying to rely on passion alone, but passion without discipline is noise. Discipline turns noise into music." So Maria committed to one simple rule. She would practice for exactly 2 hours every single day, without fail, no matter how she felt. She set a timer. She didn't overthink. She just sat at the piano and played. Day by day, her technique sharpened. Her confidence grew. She no longer feared the stage, because she knew she was prepared. A year later, she won her first major competition, not because her talent suddenly appeared, but because her discipline had shaped it into excellence. That's what discipline does. It chisels away at raw potential until something polished emerges. You may not see results immediately. That's the hardest part. Discipline demands faith, the belief that today's small efforts will pay off in tomorrow's big rewards. But the payoff is real. Success doesn't shout. It whispers through habits. If there's one truth that echoes through every story of transformation, it's this: discipline builds the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without it, goals remain dreams. With it, dreams become reality. So whatever you're building, a business, a skill, a stronger body, a better life, don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait to feel inspired. Decide, show up, stay the course. Because when you practice discipline, you stop being a prisoner of your feelings and become a master of your future. When life presents a problem, most people instinctively treat it like a stop sign. They slow down, hesitate, or halt altogether, assuming something has gone wrong. But problems aren't the enemy. They're information, they're signal. They point out something that needs attention, adjustment, or growth. Ignoring them, or running from them, only postpones the lesson. The truth is, every problem carries a message, and if you learn to listen instead of resist, you gain power. Most people say, "Why is this happening to me?" But a more powerful question is, "What is this trying to tell me?" That mindset transforms a breakdown into a breakthrough. Problems highlight what isn't working in your thinking, your habits, your relationships, or your systems. They are feedback, not failure. When you see a red light on the dashboard of your car, you don't get angry at the car. You don't throw your hands up and declare that the vehicle is broken beyond repair. You read the signal, look under the hood, and fix what needs fixing. Life works the same way. A financial struggle might be a signal to learn about money management. A recurring argument in a relationship might be a signal to improve communication. A health issue could be a call to adjust your lifestyle. But if you treat these signals like barriers instead of teachers, you stay stuck. The challenge is that problems are often uncomfortable, even painful. That's why most people avoid them. But pain is not pointless. It's a messenger. Just like the body uses pain to protect you from further injury, life uses problems to protect you from bigger consequences down the road. The earlier you listen, the better your chances of solving the issue while it's still manageable. Avoiding problems only makes them grow. What starts as a small leak becomes a flood. What begins as a minor disagreement becomes a deep resentment. But when you face problems early, head on, and with curiosity, they often reveal simple solutions. Sometimes the solution isn't even external. It's a shift in perspective. You don't have to change the situation. You just have to change how you see it. Here's a great example. A young entrepreneur named Leo started a small tech business. In the beginning, everything seemed to go well until customers began complaining about poor response times and missed deadlines. His instinct was to blame the market, his team, or even bad luck. But the complaints didn't stop. Finally, instead of ignoring the noise, Leo decided to treat it like a signal. He sat down, reviewed his workflow, interviewed clients, and studied his team's habits. What he discovered was simple, but powerful. He lacked a system. Everyone was working hard, but without structure. So he implemented a project management tool, clarified team roles, and set realistic deadlines. Within 2 months, client satisfaction improved dramatically, and so did the company's growth. Leo's problem wasn't a stop sign, it was a signal, and once he listened, he turned that friction into fuel. That's the lesson. Problems don't mean you're off track. Sometimes, they mean you're being guided back on track. They challenge your assumptions, they test your readiness, and they invite you to upgrade your approach. Every obstacle has a lesson inside it, if you're willing to extract it. So the next time life throws something hard at you, pause. Don't panic, don't retreat. Ask yourself, what's this trying to teach me? Because when you stop treating problems as stop signs and start treating them as signals, you'll move through life with greater clarity, strength, and wisdom, and the problems that once held you back will become the very tools that move you forward. Success and failure often seem like mysteries. Why do some people thrive while others struggle, even when starting from similar places? The truth is, both success and failure leave behind trails, clear patterns of behavior, choices, and principles that, when studied, reveal their cause. If you want to succeed, you don't need to guess. You need to observe. If you want to avoid failure, you don't need to fear it. You need to learn from it. Both outcomes leave clues. Your job is to pay attention. Every successful person has certain habits. They manage their time with intention. They invest in learning. They surround themselves with people who challenge them. They stay consistent, even when it's inconvenient. On the surface, it might look like luck or talent, but underneath, it's usually the result of applied principles repeated over time. When you start identifying those principles and applying them in your own life, the results start to change, not overnight, but predictably. Likewise, failure is not random. It often comes from patterns too: procrastination, avoidance of responsibility, lack of preparation, ignoring feedback, chasing shortcuts. People don't just end up broke, sick, or frustrated. They follow a path made of small decisions repeated daily. And those decisions usually come with warning signs, but many ignore them until the consequences are too loud to avoid. The good news is this: success is not a secret. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can study people who have achieved what you want to achieve, read their book, watch how they live, ask them questions, if you can. What do they value? How do they spend their mornings? What do they do when things go wrong? The answers are usually there. The clues are all around you. At the same time, don't be afraid to study failure. Too often, people try to block it out or pretend it didn't happen. But failure is one of the best teachers you'll ever have, if you're humble enough to listen. When something doesn't work, ask yourself why. What did you miss? What would you do differently next time? That process turns pain into wisdom. Here's a great example. A young man named Eric had a dream of becoming a professional speaker. He was passionate, had a good voice, and some solid stories to share. But his first few talks fell flat. People weren't connected. Instead of blaming the audience, he recorded his speeches and reviewed them. He also began watching top speakers online. He noticed that the best ones didn't just share information. They told compelling stories, used pauses for impact, and connected emotionally. Eric realized he had been rushing through his points without giving people time to absorb them. He practiced, adjusted his pace, and improved his storytelling. Over time, his talks began to land. The applause grew. Invitations followed. Eric didn't give up. He studied his failures and followed the trail of those who were ahead of him. In doing so, he turned struggle into success. He didn't guess his way forward. He observed and adapted. That's the approach that works. If you treat success like a mysterious gift, you'll sit around waiting for it. But if you treat it like a formula, made of clear, repeatable principles, you can begin applying those principles today. And if you stop avoiding failure and start learning from it, you'll grow faster and fall less. The path is visible. The clues are there. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be aware. Success leaves clues. So does failure. The question is, are you paying attention? So yes, life is hard, but not unfair, not impossible, not unbeatable. Let that fact liberate you, not limit you. Let it push you, not paralyze you. Because once you stop hoping for easy, you start chasing excellence. And the person who learns to thrive when life is hard is the person life eventually rewards. So let's rise, let's grow, let's endure. Because if life is going to be hard anyway, we might as well make it worth it. Thank you.